thank you so much for joining us on the Fantasy Grimoire podcast today, especially with your gorgeous little one. I'm so
Oh,
over how cute he is.
thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I adore you. And yeah, this is just exciting. It's my first podcast. So yay.
And you know what? I think there is no one better to kick off season 2 of the Fantasy Grimoire because you have had such an epic, I almost want to say, journey on Bookstagram and how you've gotten to this point. And I'd really love to just chat to you about that today.
Sure.
I want to focus on your cosplaying kind of
Okay.
section because you've got many things going on. So let's start with the cosplaying. You are very open on your page about resources that you share with people, how they can do this, and you really simplify a lot. But for those that have not caught it, do you want to give us a recap of how you got into cosplaying?
So I have always been a musical theater girl. I was a theater kid. I mean, definitely in high school, that was where I, peaked. And now I'm a theater teacher as well as an English teacher. There's always been this little performance part of me. And I also love fashion. And then my favorite kind of like fashion era, I would say, is that like, think like Ren Fair. I mean, at that point, it's just boiling down to what we see now in modern day is that Renaissance medieval inspired fantasy vibe. I'm obsessed. And so the romantasy meets, costume fashion and that theater teacher, theater kid just kind of came together. And then I also saw an opportunity for it when I started to fall in love with fantasy heroines. And they're not on screen yet. They're not on stage yet by any means. And so it was sort of this opportunity to bring these characters to life in a way that not a lot of people were doing at all. And then getting to work with indie authors was also a huge part of my developing it. And there's something really special about getting to be the one of the first ever cosplayers to bring a character to life. For example, I was the first ever cosplayer of Raven Kennedy's RN, and that is something I will always claim. And that opened up so many opportunities for me. She asked me to come to a Polycon with her in 2024 to cosplay RN, and people like knew who I was. And so that was like an out of body experience to get to,
You
do
have
that.
that effect on people. You really do have that effect. I'm not surprised that people know who you were.
I
I
was
love
like, who I am? What? Like, it was bizarre that people came up to me and said, I was like, hi, I'm Shelby, also known as LiteraryFaery. Nice to meet you. And they were like, oh, I know who you are. Like, stop. And I was like, oh my God, what? So it's just been this absolute surreal thing to kind of bring all these different passions of mine together. And it just kind of manifests as cosplay.
but you know what's so funny is that you make it look effortless. And I
Thank
know
you.
it's not effortless because obviously now you have the 2 kids as well. You're a
Yes.
full-time mom. You're a
Yeah,
full-time working woman. You have your hands in so many different pies, but you
I
just do
know.
it with the biggest smile on your face. And I'm like, what is her secret?
It's just like when I get home from a long day of teaching and I look at my posting calendar and I think there's some days where I'm prepped and planned. I've got all my cosplays done for the week or the month even. I used to be so good about it. But some days I come home from a long day of teaching and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot I didn't cosplay photo shoot yet for my post tonight or tomorrow night because my wig didn't arrive yet. And now my wig's here and and so I have to like really like get it together on short notice. But it all like once I'm done, it's so satisfying and it's so rewarding and beautiful when I put the content out there and the author is just like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like, this is so beautiful. Like, it's always worth it. Yes, there's sometimes some moments of stress, but honestly, the most stressful content I put out there are like my passion projects. Like when I push myself to do like massive reels of multiple transitions and I'm like, why did I put myself through this? Like nobody's paying me, or I'm not even like doing this to connect with an indie author or their readers. It's just me being annoying to myself. Like, what is wrong with me?
I do have to say my 2 favorite cosplays of yours, and you've done a lot. Beauty and the Beast when you did Belle in the yellow dress, because for me, like I'm a classic Disney girl. Little Mermaid is my number 1, but
Oh, we
my
love
next 2 is Beauty and the Beast. And when you did that with like the tale as old as time song in the background, I was like, don't cry, don't cry,
that.
don't cry.
No. I get that a lot. And that's actually the first ever true cosplay I ever did. I was a junior in high school and I started cosplaying Belle for little girls' birthday parties. And so and then I have Belle on my arm, like she's my alter ego. And
See,
I always like returning back to her is like home because truly she's such a part of my life
Yeah.
since I think honestly, since I can remember. So I love that you said that. Thank you. And Ariel's my number two. So we have like the same top two. I love that you love Little Mermaid, and that's actually my pick for my school musical this year. So my kids will be doing Little Mermaid, and I'm hoping to document it as much as I can. I'm trying to work teaching into my platform. And like you said, I have so many different things going on. Like I always, I'm always trying new things and trying to level up. But this year, I really want to bring my teacher life more into my platform in
Yeah.
a way that is, safe. And I won't obviously broadcast these teens on my platform, but I do want to share what I do and kind of the teacher angle. So I'm doing Little Mermaid and I'm really excited.
I love that. But, and I'm going to give a bit of a basic bitch answer. I loved your Violet cosplay because because with the dagger and then like the harness thing above, I was like, where can I get one?
No, that's amazing to hear because I know Violet, I love her, but I know that she's like there's certain characters that I cosplay that I know are not like they're not me. Do you know what I mean? Like she's
Yeah,
tiny, she's little, and
yeah,
I'm considered a mid to plus size cosplayer. And so I love to cosplay characters that are outside of like what my body type is because that's the beauty of it, the magic of it. And she's just so badass. She's so fucking cool. And to get to do her, and I got a lot of compliments on her and I was not expecting it. Like I mean, being on these platforms, you get trolls and you get haters that are like, you look nothing like her. And I'm like, block,
yeah, yeah,
And I was really excited to see such a good reaction because
yeah.
there's no reason anyone of anybody type can't cosplay.
The Violet thing, sure, you maybe don't look like her, but we're cosplaying fantasy. You're not going to look like what? I don't know if that's just me. It's the acting, which you do
Yes.
phenomenally, that conveys the cosplay. Just my
Yes. No, I totally agree. There are certain characters that I feel super at home in because of like Poppy, for example. She's a queen because she, is who she is, and I love that, she's a plus size body, or Bryce, things like that. Like I feel really at home. And then with Violet, I always feel nervous just to hit that post because I'm like, what are people going to say? Like everyone's always trying to say their piece and
yeah.
kind of do that in comment section, the keyboard warriors. But there's always more support and love in the community than anything else. So,
Well, you kind of created a perfect segue for my next question.
oh,
Where you are very outspoken against readers saying spices like porn or that dark romance is disturbing. And
mhm.
I love that you're outspoken about that because there is a space for people to do both. Okay. So if you want
Yeah.
to read smut, if you want to read spice, whatever, as long as you're not hurting anyone, that's really all that matters. But I want to dig a little bit deeper. Why do you think this darker nature of reading is making so many people uncomfortable?
I think it happens with anything that's like new in the mainstream. Like erotica and smut has existed for how many decades now? And even you can argue like there were writers for hundreds of years doing this kind of thing, but it was always it was always behind the scenes. And like for my generation, like millennials, I feel like a lot of the smut I read was just straight up fanfic. Like that was the only way we were getting it. And then erotica has always been in think like Harlequin romance, things like that. But I think people are always super uncomfortable and quick to jump at that throat.
Yeah.
And then I think too, like especially in the States, like this purity culture and the patriarchy is oh so ever over like domineering
Yeah.
the discourse in pop culture. And so I think people start there with how can I take this down because I'm not there's something in them that is chafing with it and they can't understand their own internalized misogyny, things like that. And they immediately just go for people like us who are embracing sexual female empowerment,
Yeah.
the queer community, and just whatever others kind of like subsets of ideologies that align themselves with smut and spice romance and dark romance. People have a hard time with that, I think. And so that's where their anger and hate comes from. And my immediate reaction is I'd find it laughable. Like I just find it so fucking funny. Like it's hypocrisy at best, and at worst, it's just straight up misogyny, something, hate. Some people are finally realizing that and backing off. Like the hate I feel like online has gotten a lot better. Or
Yeah.
maybe I've just gotten better at blocking people. But so what's wild is I saw someone on Threads recently say it's always the clean romance or no spice community coming after us. You never see the smut or spice community coming after them. And I think that's very telling because it's so true that I mean that never That never happens in the online discourse. Like, we don't care, like, live your life, but they seem to
Yeah.
really care, and that's very it's very consistent when you see the hate and the bullying online. It's always the purity, the we are clean spice.
And what really stood out to me was when I saw a author the other day, she was marketing it as no spice. And I was like, thank you, because spice is not clean or dirty. I was like,
Exactly.
I love that you specified no spice, closed door
Right.
romance. And I was like, just thank you. Thank you for
I
being.
think Right. I think people lack the media literacy too to understand, like, when we say, "Oh, I love a filthy mouthed MMC," or "I love the dirtier the better." We don't mean that spice is dirty,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's just the language that we use to describe it. And it really it does. That word clean to describe the genre as a whole really bugs me. Like, it's not dirty romance. We use the word dirty and filthy to describe certain things, but come on, you know the difference. Like, you
Yeah.
can tell.
There is someone that I'm connected to that lives in the whole dominatrix lifestyle.
Love.
And I've watched her come out of her shell and really find her confidence because she has been empowered in this choice that she made. Now, personally, I don't subscribe to that, and that's fine. I don't have to subscribe to it. But to see her flourish, and she's hurting no one, literally no one, but
Yeah.
becoming her best self, and she's also like seeing that through books. I'm like, why would we shit all over someone else's choices just because she's finally found something that makes her happy?
It's a beautiful thing. I personally first was exposed to the dominatrix and even BDSM sort of like lifestyle and sex club kind of lifestyle through Katie Robert, her books. And I had never, like, I knew that that was a thing, right? Because who doesn't? And porn exists, but I also just didn't understand what though, like, they're people too. They have lives and connections, and this found family is really beautiful. And so I read The Wicked Villains, I think probably 5 years ago now,
Yeah.
maybe more, and I was like, wow, this is wonderful. Like, I really kind of relished the opportunity to learn about that
Yeah.
lifestyle. I think it's fascinating and awesome.
Yeah, and I think also the way that lifestyle, it teaches consent in a completely different way, and it teaches boundaries. And I think those are things that carry over into other areas of lives as well, not just the sexual part. And that's a part that a lot of people don't realize as well.
Yeah, they have a hard time separating this, like, idea of sexual deviance with, oh, they're also teaching safe sex, consent, and emotional regulate. Like, they don't understand, like, again, media literally, like, we have to understand that two things can be true at one time. And I personally love that emphasis in almost every single dark romance book I've ever read. The authors emphasize, even if it's a non-con or dub con book, like, they emphasize safe words and consent and safety in sex, and that is so awesome. And like, nobody realizes that when they're on the outside hating. They don't understand.
Actually just interviewed an author where she has content warnings on her website for similar things like this. And then she provides resources on where to get help. I was like,
Yeah.
how incredible are you? We spent a lot of time unpacking her reasons for why she did that and the responsibility of an author. Where does it stop and start? And it was a beautiful perspective to hear.
Yes, agreed. And I love seeing, I've had to kind of like show up with receipts when people come into comments hating. And one time I was like, you know what, let me see, because they were arguing that there was no mental health message or trigger warnings in Haunting Adeline. And I went and pulled my book from the shelf, and right there's a mental health message from the author and trigger warnings. I was like, you're done.
It's been a while since I've read that duology, but I remember very clearly H.D. Carlton is one of the biggest mental health advocates ever. Like, that is her number one priority. And I mean, even I know that, and I don't read dark romance normally. So the fact that I remember that tells
Mhm.
you how much it's stuck in my mind that she
Yeah.
reiterates that.
She's a great example of people are determined to just hate.
Yeah, fully
Yeah.
agree. Which
Mhm.
I do want to touch a little bit on some of those other fingers in the pies that you have. You offer editing as well, because
Well, yeah.
obviously you have your English degree, and I do have to fangirl for a little bit because you edited for Harper L. her Coven series. Can you tell us about the experience of what it's like to work with someone of her stature?
So I was an alpha reader for her, and so that opportunity was so cool. I think what I learned a lot too, because I wasn't working alone. Like there were other alpha readers in the kind of room with the virtual room with me, and what we focused on was, for me, I was really interested in like the continuity of the intimate scenes. Like we were able to catch certain things. Like, wait a minute, she was on top 2 paragraphs ago, but now somehow he's grabbing her from behind, like things like that. And that was wonderful to see. And now every single romance book I read, I like think about the sex dynamic, and not even just with white shoes. Like those positions are hard to figure out. Like you just kind of go with it. But when it comes to the intimate scenes, I'm always thinking like, are they being like, I accidentally have this like very fine-tuned eye now.
Yeah.
That. But and Harper, or Adelaide Forrest, she's amazing to work with, and she's one of those people that is just as sweet in person as she is online, and she just really believes in her books, and she always has so many different pairs of eyes on her books. And because I also beta read for What Lies Beyond the Veil, those couple of those sequels.
Yeah.
And then I met her at a Polycon, and I was like, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm LiteraryFaery. And she was like, girl, stop. I love you. I remember you. And that was really, really cool. So it was just, again, one of those surreal out of body experiences that only Bookstagram could afford me. Like nothing else besides putting myself out there and saying, I have a skill set for this. Let me see if I can put it to the test. And so sadly, over the last couple, I was going to say a couple years, but I think it's only been a year, I've had to step back from editing just because of pregnancy, and I'm hoping to get back to it. I would say by next summer, I'll put myself back out there and get those projects going. I've gotten better at it. At first it was tough. I kept accepting, collabs in progress, and I burned myself out pre-pregnancy. And then when I got pregnant, I was like, girl, you got to chill. Like we got to pick and choose.
I more and more on Bookstagram, a lot of people are running into burnout where I'm seeing these messages, taking a break from my mental health. And I'd love to know from you, how do you deal with burnout as a creator?
Sure. And I'm very prone to it. I have OCD and just generalized anxiety. And so part of that is just feeling like, I have this voice in my head, if I don't post, everything I've worked for will crumble. And it's just this like, and that is so not true. Like the opposite is true. And so what I did was I think it works for my type of, I'm like a type A, almost B personality. I put in my calendar the month of his birth, like, you're on hiatus. So it was like part of my business model or content creation strategy. Like, you are on a break. And then I did it. Like I took 4 weeks off. And even then when I came back and I could feel, my hormones changing, or I felt like postpartum was getting the better of me mentally, I said, okay, we're booking another week in May where you are off. Like you are off, you're done. And it helps so much because now I'm back to posting daily, and it's like a blip. It's not even bothering me. Like I feel so good. And I, have strategized, your collabs are going to be once a week. Then we can try 2 times a week. So now in July, I'm moving a little bit more quickly, but when it comes to starting work, back to teaching in August, I've got only like 3 collabs the whole month. Like I'm reminding myself, like, I just have to be so in tune with, like, now I've done so many years in this industry. I know what times of year I'm going to crash and burn. It's usually around October, and then oftentimes even like January. Like I start too strong at the beginning of the year, and then by February I'm like, oh my God, like I can't. So I've mapped it out. Like that's kind of like my strategy right now, how I'm kind of making sure the burnout never hits, is put it in your schedule. You're putting mandated breaks into your schedule. And I think also just I always have content just in my drafts. And they're the kind of reels that you've probably seen from me recently where like I don't even hold up books. Like I'm just putting the book covers on the reels themselves. So in the moment of me recording, I don't have to stare at my shelves and like pick the books. I can go add the book covers in to whatever the reel might be later on. And it kind of takes that mental load off of me in the moment. And I have probably a dozen reels just ready in my Instagram drafts for when I'm like, oh, I didn't have time to film today. I don't know what's trending right now because I haven't been scrolling because I'm too busy momming or
Yeah.
grading papers throughout the school year, right? So I kind of have those ready to go. And it's helped so much in the last year or so.
Phenomenal strategy there. And I think the biggest thing, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I'm going to assume after taking the break, the little one, you
Mhm.
probably came back stronger because you allowed yourself that time to rest, even though, let's be honest, being a mom is not rest.
Yeah, no, being a mom is absolutely not rest at all. That's why I have so much
Yeah.
respect for stay-at-home moms. Oh my gosh, or stay-at-home parents in general. Like, how do you do it? But yeah, no, it allowed me to remember what's most important, which isn't just my kids, but like myself. Like if mommy's not right, nobody's right. Um, and so coming back, I felt a lot more clear-headed. And I was able to recognize too when my energy levels were low. Like I would get to the point where I was like, I can't be in my library on my feet anymore. Like I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So it helped me to remember like my limits.
So I do have to ask. Every guest gets this question. What is
Okay.
this hot take?
I have many, but I think most of my hot takes are like ones that like-minded people also kind of have. Like dark romance actually does help improve mental health, but I think that's one of those like cold takes because at this point, like it's almost proven at this point, like it's trauma healing, it's coping mechanisms, it's but I actually think more recently I've started to think about, and I think it's because I went on a little bit of a break. I think sometimes that this community, although it is so hugely ingrained into my life and just book talk and bookstagram in general, I think it's kind of ruined the way that I read.
Yeah.
And I'm working on kind of finding my way back to like a pre-pandemic, reader. And I wouldn't blame it on the pandemic. I wouldn't blame it on the book talk and bookstagram community, but I find myself every time I read a book, I'm thinking about how I'm going to spin it into content. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And I call it a hot take because I don't know that a lot of other people realize this or are at this point. Like I'm 7 years in to the
Yeah.
community now. Like it's when I say ingrained, it's deeply ingrained. And so even if I'm reading a book for fun, even if I'm reading a book for I'm going to teach, I'm thinking, "Oh my God, what kind of content would I create out of this?" And I kind of hate that. And again, I don't regret and I don't have any kind of animosity towards the community for it because I mean, the point is to talk about books that you love with your people, and I'm not going to stop anytime soon. I love it, but I also am attempting to really dive into that and figure out how I can reverse engineer that and maybe figure out just read for reading, like why am I it's a hardwiring issue in my own brain that I wonder if other people are experiencing as well.
It's almost that reading again for the sake the joy of it, not for a goal or a deadline or whatever the case may be. That's why with my off readers, I am so specific about you have no deadline. Read when you can because real life happens. Where I released the Rule of the Damp last year in October. Do you know that I had an ARC reader contact me now this week? And at the time of recording this episode, it's the 11th of July. Um,
Uh-huh.
where life happened to her and she's now picking back up on all her arcs that she never got to. And I was like, first of all, the fact that you reached out to me and told me, I think that's the sweetest thing in the world and absolutely not required, but thank you.
Yeah.
And I said to her, like, reading should be fun. The moment that stops, you shouldn't be reading. And I never want you to feel like reading is a chore. Like, the special edition arrived for me yesterday, right? But like,
Ooh,
see that
gorgeous.
and wait. Look at this. Yeah, come on my room. Just look at this. Okay, wait,
Oh
what?
goodness.
I'm not done. I'm not done. I'm not done.
Just keep going.
Look at that. Okay.
That's beautiful. And a paperback no less.
Now, this was one of my top reads of 2024. I'd like to think I'm friends with the author, and I'm such a fangirl.
What's her name?
Her name is Sarah, and I always pronounce this incorrectly. L. Raquel. It's the first of an interconnected standalone.
Okay.
Um,
I'm
it's
adding it to my Goodreads.
please do. It's set in Prague. It's set in Prague. Mm-hmm.
How
And
fun.
Yeah, like I messaged her afterwards and I was like, "You've been to Prague, haven't you?" And she's like, "Yeah, I was in Prague before the pandemic and I actually took detailed notes on all the settings." And I was like, "Yeah, I can see it in the way that you write."
That's beautiful. I went to Prague in 2021 with a school trip, and it was like, or no, 2022, sorry. And we were one of the first tourist groups post pandemic. And it was wild. They were so happy to have tourism back. It was beautiful. I had so much fun.
And I do want to pop onto your bindery account. So bindery to me is still a little bit of a newish concept. Um,
Sure.
do you want to talk us through a little bit about it and why we should go this route instead of Instagram, or what are the pros and cons in your opinion?
Sure. And I hate to say instead of Instagram because I do like I owe Instagram my entire like everything. It's helped me launch everything that I've ever dreamed about. But we all, I mean, I fuck Zuck. Let me just say that. Like there's certain things there's certain things I can't stand the man. And so Bindery, they approached me over a year ago now, and they were so sweet. They were so kind, and they are the most understanding and real sort of company I could ever imagine, which is wonderful because again, reading should be about love. It should be about love for stories. And so I admittedly haven't posted in quite some time just because like being a mom and things like that. But I know it's always there, and I know it's the place where I can hopefully once I get everything kind of back up and running, I can point people there for it's an emphasis on exclusive content. Honestly, like the way that it was pitched to me, it's like a Patreon or an OnlyFans. Like at that point,
Yeah.
you get to find your favorite creators, and they can be compensated for doing the most, putting even more out there in terms of like the content they create. For me, my problem recently has just been like I can't even find the time to create content that's free on my Instagram and my book talks. That's why I've kind of like been on a break from Bindery, but it was an opportunity for me to launch my YouTube channel because they connect most things. The exclusive content for unpublished YouTube is what you get access to as a Bindery member. And there's so many incredible creators on their platform, and they emphasize, of course, BIPOC and queer creators. And so those kind of creators, again, just because the nature of systemic racism, don't get the kind of exposure that they should. And so the big Bindery creators have been able to publish. They've established their own bindery imprints, and they have published books. And so I've become close with a few creators there, namely Kevin Norman. He's big in the book community. He has an imprint called Purple Tear, and he just recently published Black Salt Queen, which is a queer romantasy by a Filipino author. And just that kind of example, like that's the kind of book that maybe the big five wouldn't take a chance on, but these small creators were able to get them published. And so that's what I love about it. And I'm almost more of like a Bindery fan than I am a creator. I'm still learning and still putting myself out there, but I'm so excited to get back into it. One thing I was able to do before I had to kind of go on hiatus was I did like a good long 15-minute vlog of start to finish how I planned, prepped, and kind of conceptualized a cosplay, and then showed my creative process from concept to the finished product, makeup, hair, wig, costume, picking out pieces from my closet or things that I had to go find. And that was really cool. So I hope to do more like that, more things like that, because I forget people are really here for my cosplay. And so
I would
I really
actually pay to see that because I mean, you've done two cosplays for me in the past for my YA series.
yes,
I'll never forget. By the way, I still reference the first one where you were in the dress with the wig,
with the
and
orb, I remember her. She was beautiful.
and um, and then but the second one, you blew me away because I remember I gave you some of like my mood boards and references, and then bam, you just came out with this whole concept, and I was like, how? I was like, I get that I write, like don't get me wrong, but I was like, I have so many questions right now,
Oh
and
my gosh.
it was so important. So I would totally pay for that. Just by the way, I'd love to.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. No, that's something that I'm really hoping to get into. And I always think that I'll have time. I'll have time in the summer. I'll have time in the summer. as a teacher. And of course, this summer is all about baby.
Yeah.
So this wasn't the summer, but
Maybe
I'm
next.
actually I'm really hoping to get myself set up with a good filming system for YouTube. And because really I film on my phone 99% of the time. And if I'm not filming on my phone, it's because I need my husband's phone because I want to use my phone for a trend or something. Like it's all on an iPhone. So hopefully I will get to that point, and I have all faith. I am one of those people who's like, how hard could it be? Like, I can do this. So stay tuned, everyone.
You're preaching to the choir there, because I literally came back from a holiday in December and I was like, let me start a podcast. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I have Google and I have brains, put the two together and see what happens. And here we are, already in season 2. So where there's a will, there's a way. I couldn't agree more.
Exactly. And you are killing it, girl. This is incredible.
I'm literally about to ask you an SJM question, so I'm totally going to go and contradict myself for a second. But
Oh my gosh.
I am so tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. And in true author style, if you don't like what you're doing, solve the problem yourself. And that's what I did. I
Mhm.
want to start platforming not just authors, because it takes a village for us to get our books out there. You're doing a collab for me now on my launch for my second book of my Mafia series. I decided to do that with you to get the correct exposure, because I know you have an insane following and reach. And even if it only gets me one year reader, for me, that's worth it. Like 100%. That's why I do that. I've interviewed editors before, and I'm going to do more editors. Like, we can't do this without the editors, the designers, the bookstagrammers of the world. And I just wanted to make sure that there was a platform where we could discuss those things.
Love that. I love that entire everything. 10s across the board.
Well, now I'm going to go and contradict myself and ask you my SJM question. Crescent City. In book number 2, and if you haven't read book number 2, to any of the listeners, please stop or skip past this point because there's a spoiler. We meet Sophie Renast, a Thunderbird. And we're told that they're an extinct race, which kind of makes Sophie like hot property. But we know SJM and that she does not do anything by accident. We know this. Okay. So do you think we're going to see more of her kind?
I absolutely. It's SJM. I mean, she wouldn't drop that for, no particular reason. Absolutely not. And I if I'm remembering correctly, before Flame and Shadow came out, there was this kind of assumption, or not assumption, but theory that Bryce was a Thunderbird.
Yes, I've
And
seen that.
yeah, and so that's what I remember most about this. And I feel like with Flame and Shadow that's not quite the direction that it's going in anymore. But I do also have to be super, super honest with you. I read all 3 of the Crescent City books. I read the first one twice, but I'm literally blanking. Like I'm just gonna be so honest with you. What stuck with me most about Flame and Shadow was, number 1, I loved Day and Night's arc. Like, they were my favorite part of that book. I'm a huge Lydia and Rune fan. I thought that was really beautiful, and Throne of Glass is my favorite. So the connection with Lydia was everything, and I was really tuned into that. But apart from that, I remember getting a little bit lost in the sauce, and I remember being just a tad disappointed with the crossover.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite here for it. when it
You can't be mad at a face like that. And like
Oh,
these
no,
people,
not
like,
at all.
what?
And this little sweet brother
Yes.
love.
I mean, they're loving each other. So what more could we want?
It's beautiful.
But just the way like stuck in there, it was hilarious.
So funny, so funny. No, but that's where my mind is right now. I will forever love Throne of Glass and ACOTAR and Crescent City. It's just I feel like I don't have the brain power. Do you feel like that? I feel like sometimes I miss the days where, again, it was pre-mom, pre-career, where I was theorizing about Game of Thrones like it was my job, and I had all of this just like ready to go. And so I do remember the Thunderbird thing. I remember being like, oh, like questioning Bryce and her heritage and her, what she's going to manifest as, or what we're going to learn more about her. But I remember just leaving off of Flame and Shadow being like, was that the same Bryce that we remember from 1 and 2? Like, what happened? So I'm at like a standstill right now. I'm like, girl, 1, we need an ACOTAR 6 or 5 announcement, please. And 2, what is going on with the Crescent City arc? I want to know where we go from here. And I don't know if I am a fan of Hunt. Like I'm still
That's
I'm
how.
still questioning.
So for me, Crescent City, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. She says, well, she has the hardcovers behind her. Um, being an urban fantasy author myself, obviously I was going to gravitate towards the series. And do I think book one was phenomenal? Okay. Yes. Do I think it could have been 100 pages shorter and still delivered the same plot? Also, yes. There is such a thing as too much world building. I think there was a lot of plot points by book three where I was like, what? Like the lost heir, I forgot her name. I think it was Amelia that was just
Yeah.
murdered by accident. I was like, so you made us go through all of that for what? I was
Right.
like, I'm actually pissed. You got me invested. And this is not like a devastating death or whatever. You haven't given her enough page time for her to be a devastating death.
No. And I think too, what's really telling for me about Crescent City, I think the first book is beautiful. It was actually once I finished it, I remember being like, this might be my new favorite SJM. But then
Yeah.
I read Silver Flames not long after, and I was like, well, that's been unseated. What's really telling about Crescent City is that before the third book came out, I had so many people on Bookstagram and even real life friends who were asking me, do I need to read Crescent City? Everyone keeps kind of mentioning there's this connection between ACOTAR, Crescent City, and Throne of Glass. And I was like, yes, you need to read Crescent City 1 and 2. Get yourself ready. This is going to be a big thing. And then the third book came out. And then now when people ask me, I'm like, no. I'm like, no, just wait till Crescent City's done, because at this point I get frustrated. I'm like, I need a completed Crescent City series before I'm going to, and I say all this and I'm probably going to, I'll read anything SJM reads just because I want to understand and continue this massive universe that I began. Actually, when my oldest was, I was postpartum with my oldest when I started her books. And so it has a very special place in my heart. I mean, I spent many a nursing session binging both series. So regardless, I will read them, but I'm like other people, I'm like, honestly, you could wait. You
Yeah.
could you could wait until Crescent City's done and to really see that the beauty of the connect. So
Like I'm not even the biggest Akatar fan in the world. And again, that's not knocking it. It's just I'm not its reader. But even I looked at the crossover and I was like, huh? I was like, what,
like this
what
is it.
what what just happened? I was like, there was such a, I almost want to say such a potential to like get the fandom going. And I was like, it was like it was an afterthought. That's what came across to me. Now, Shelby, I know you do a lot of book recommendations on your page already, but off the top of your head right now,
Okay.
what's one fantasy book? It doesn't matter if it's indie, trad, hybrid, whatever. What is one fantasy book that you think deserves way more love than it's been getting?
Okay, so the first thing that came off the top of my head is actually the book that's had me in a bit of a slump this summer. I read The Witch Queen by Alexandria Arden, and it's one of my most recent cosplays. She's a Fae Queen. She is 20 years old when she inherits her throne, but most of the story we get, that's the prologue.
Yeah,
She's 320. She's a badass. She is, a plus size queen,
yeah,
and she's got all of this leadership experience, and she's not this little 19-year-old heroine.
yeah,
And I know that people are always on the hunt for older fantasy heroines, and she is everything that we could ever want. And so it's not even just that, it's also the MMC is a breath of fresh air. He's not your typical shadow daddy. He's actually like a light power wielding daddy. He's a Fey prince with like this bad boy reputation, and they have to they're enemies, of course, but they have to become reluctant allies, and both of them are trying to trick the other. But then of course, as they're pulling the wool over each other's eyes, they realize, oh shit, and so it's just this gorgeous, beautiful, everything I've ever wanted in a romantasy, binge worthy, but also she's a thick book, and I love that. Like when you don't think about how thick it is.
yeah.
So I highly recommend it, especially for fans of From Blood and Ash. Just because it is going to be a 5-book series and there is a lot going on, but it's not too much. Like the theories and the world building that I'm already thinking about are just the right amount of expansive but not overwhelming. So highly recommend. And she Ali, who wrote the book, she's a bookstagrammer, and she followed her dream and wrote this stunning beautiful, well-polished book that I'm really proud of her for. So that one, The Witch Queen, it's so good.
Not gonna lie, while you were talking, I did go and add it to my TBR.
Good. Good. It's so fun. I loved everything about it.
I may not be a romantasy author myself, but like I said, I'm a basic bitch. I read romantasy too. Shelby, we've touched a little bit on your time management skills and all the different areas that you're managing of your life and with the little one and all of those areas. But a few years ago, you undertook a massive growth strategy on your account because you had a goal that you wanted to reach. And since then, your account has grown tremendously. You share a lot of this on your page already, but do you want to maybe just give us 2 or 3 tips of what someone can do if they wanted to follow a similar path?
Absolutely. I in 2023, I realized my page was stagnating and that wasn't good for me. Like I know a lot of folks who are like, I just love to be here. And I'm happy to sit at, 20K or 25K for years. It doesn't matter. And that I respect the hell out of that. Like
Yeah.
followers come and go. The impact of your brand is not just based on followers. So I'll put that out there. But I also just feel like for me, if I want to continue and to not, I can never guarantee, but I can provide the kind of reach for my indie authors that I work with that I possibly can. I'm like, I'm gonna connect with more people on here. There are millions of people in the book community, and I think that they belong here too. I want to find them, and Instagram doesn't make it easy. The algorithm is constantly changing, and so in 2023, I set out to figure out what the hell I could do to become as far reaching and impactful as I could. And so what I ended up discovering was that I have a talent for video content, which I did not know about myself. I really only saved video content for cosplaying because I felt like it was performance. It was a character and acting, and I could focus my reels that way. But I realized that other creators were using reels to be relatable and funny and educational even, and sharing their own voice. Like I was so focused on these trending sounds and music and like lip syncing, and I realized like I teach all day long. My voice is my most powerful tool, and as a performer, I could figure this venture out. And again, how hard could it be? I can do this. And so reels were the way that I started really taking off and finding my people. And at one point, I think I was posting 2 reels a day, just to try and meet that goal. And I met that goal and more. And I'm still growing. I still grow from reels that I posted months ago because the community is constantly growing. And I think what it does is it helps me reach people who are here to stay. I think when I first started my platform, there was a lot of readers here because of the pandemic, and they've kind of fallen off, or they've melted away back into non-bookish society, and they realize aren't here. So I'm looking to find people who are very active in the community and will continue to be active and want to find these underrated or indie authors. And the indie community, again, is constantly growing. People are constantly finding themselves here, and I want to be one of the faces they see, because I know I have a message, and I'm someone who I hope to continue to uplift queer authors and BIPOC authors and even just small indie authors everywhere. I just want to be able to do that because why not? Like what else this is such a passion of mine. Some tips, I think. Find your voice, like find the thing that you can kind of broadcast out into the world. For me, that's been indie authors. A lot of readers are super hesitant to give them a chance, and they kind of just float with what they know trad publishing trusts, and they continue. So that you see people saying, I've read everything that's out there. I've read everything that's on the the tables in Barnes and Noble. What next? What do I read now? And so I want to be the person that's like, hey, I'll tell you what you should be reading now. Other things too, why choose romance? I think that's probably my favorite like little niche is the why choose, because I just find it so empowering for women to read this idea of like not just the polyamory, but like the ability to make these emotional connections on so many different levels with different kinds of people. And I think that that's really, really special. And just the emphasis on the sexual empowerment and things like that. So I've recently found that niche, the wide choose community, to be something that responds well to my recommendations, and I'm so glad for it because I'm always trying to like what else can I do, where can I kind of dive into and provide a service. Like, I think just being as much of, servant leader as I can. Like, what can I give you? What can I do? And how can I help usher in, more and unique recommendations in the community. So finding your voice, finding your angle is so important. You don't want to just kind of do what others are doing. But at the same time, you do want to find creators that you admire. And I think that you can emulate. Obviously, we never want to think about copycatting someone else, but you can still emulate the good that they're doing for the community. And I'm always happy to be that for somebody else. People always message me, can I do this trend that you did? Can I do that? I'm like, yes, oh my God, of course. Like, I'm not out here being like, let me gatekeep, like, let me be the only one to do. No, that is not the point. It's the World Wide Web. Please be inspired by me. And so I find certain creators that I know are very aligned to what I also am doing, and I kind of want to emulate what they're doing and find a way to put my spin on it. Some examples would be Elite Reading. Laura, I love what she does. She's like very family, and she features her husband a lot. She features her pets and her kids a lot, and I love that she's been able to merge those family aspects. So you've seen me do a lot more mom content lately. That's me being inspired by that. And then on a couple of other ones, I think it's That Girl Reads. Her name's Jamie. I love the way that
I love her.
I love her. And I think it's because she does a really good job of pulling in trad published works and saying, if you loved these, here's what you read next. And so I've been really inspired by that. And I think it's super important when you have a massive platform. And mine, I still consider myself like a smallish medium, but she's got like 300 plus K following, and she's always repping indie authors. And I think that that's so important. I think that's why people love her.
But she also doesn't take shit, because I've seen she like she gives an honest, and she got a lot of backlash about Onyx Storm and her take on it. And she was like, guys, this is my truth. Like,
what's wild about it is her hot take about Onyx Storm was exactly how I felt about it. And I think no one else, I had not seen a single other person have that kind of lukewarm experience with Fourth Wing until I saw her. And I was like, thank God I'm not the only one. Like, no one wants to feel isolated. That'll just push you out of the community. If you're like, everyone seems to fucking love this series, but I have like, hello, hi, I have some questions. I have some issues. No, I really appreciate her honesty for sure. So those are just examples. Like, I love that. Like, I'm not saying that we need to constantly be consuming content to be better creators, but finding those few that you want to spend your time on, and being inspired and kind of learning from them. It's super valuable to you as a creator. And then I think lastly, my biggest tip is just to, when it comes to growth, you just want to find a good, consistent balance that makes sense for you and your life. Right now for me, that's once a day posting. And I honestly don't think like people swear by certain times of the day to post. Just post. You know what I mean? Like, just post. If you post at, like, sometimes I don't remember to post until like 11 p.m. and I'm like, oh my God, everyone's probably asleep. Well, no, they're not. Like, in Australia, they're awake. In China, they're awake. Like, just post, and you'll reach more people sometimes that way. So anyway, I just feel like we overwhelm ourselves, like demanding of ourselves to post this many times a day, but just find a good balance and this like pace, and Instagram will pick that up as consistency. Don't think about the algorithm as being this like, mothership that you must please. Like, it's there to help you. They don't want you to suck. Like, they don't. As much as I do hate Zuck, like, they want you on the app. They're not punishing you. No one is trying to do you dirty behind the scenes. The algorithm is not a bully. It's just helping the people whose content are consistently delivering. And so if you're not doing that, you've got to figure out what that is for you, and it will reward you. And that has been true for me.
And I'll add one more about you, which you're far too humble to say. I think your authenticity is a big part of why you attract so many people, where you don't bullshit us either, and you're having fun with it. And I don't want to say that sells, but like that sells. And we're like, hey, this place is fun. Let me hang around here and stick around with all the cool kids. And I think that is something that really translates into your content.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Authenticity, or just being genuine, is absolutely my number one when it comes to how I want to be perceived. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
So, Shelby, before we wrap up, I have to ask, what can we expect to see next from your account in 2025 and beyond?
So expect to see more of my original content, voice, like talking to the camera kind of reels. And then I am going to be working in even more mom content and my angle as a teacher, especially just not just with theater, because that is performance based and kind of lends itself well to this space, but also just as a literature teacher in Florida in this political climate here in the States. I'm obviously not meant to get super political as a public educator on Instagram, but I don't want to let anything that I'm experiencing as a literature teacher not I don't I'm having a hard time articulating it, but I just want to be able to talk, hey, I taught this book that used to be banned,
Yeah.
and I want to explain what kind of impact it has legitimately had on the young adult reader. And so I'm being really intentional with my book lists and with what kind of poems and short stories that I am teaching, because I want there to be much less white voices and much more black and brown voices, and as much as I can include queer stories and experiences. And so I'm setting a goal for myself, especially this year. I feel a lot more rejuvenated for the school year, having been off since April for him.
Yeah.
um, so I have all of these ideas that I'm so excited about, and I haven't felt so rejuvenated as a teacher in quite a few years. This is year 10 for me too. So it's a really big milestone, and I'm excited to start slowly but surely documenting a little bit more about what I can offer to the book community with this AP Lit kind of angle. I think people might be interested in that.
That's
I'm not excited. I just so many, like, so for example, a book that was recently banned, but we appealed it and it was unbanned, is The Hate You Give. Um
yes, yes, I've heard of that.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's actually kind of perfect that it's been unbanned, and I'm thinking about teaching it this year. Kind of just adjacent to African American lit that I teach anyways, but it's like kind of the more modern experience, and it's such a beautiful book. And so I feel like I want to document that and just kind of show that previously banned books, like, and even currently banned books, like, they can, there's a point to them. We're not trying to subvert children. We're not trying to push some political agenda. We just want kids to experience other voices. And I do teach in a predominantly white county, and so I think it's going to be really impactful for those kids.
I forgot to mention this example earlier, but if we look at, and you'll appreciate this, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which was banned, I think it was in the 60s, for being too risque and out there. Now we look at its place in musical theatre. It's one of the cornerstones. Uh,
Absolutely.
and for anyone that has never watched this, we have cross dressing, we have deaths in the freezer, we have aliens. It is, I promise you, it actually does make sense. Like, uh,
Yeah.
my favorite song, which is not the typical one from Rocky Horror Picture Show, was "Happy Tootie, Rest My Soul." I really
Oh my gosh.
love that song so much. I
Yes.
maybe shouldn't have watched it as a kid, but we are where we are.
No, you are fine. I'm a big proponent of allowing kids in a safe space to experience what might be considered rated R material, as long as they have that support system. My parents did that for me. I remember watching Pretty Woman, Forrest Gump, Titanic when I was like 8. And it was a really good, yeah, it was a really good opportunity for my mom and dad, and I picked up that parenting technique as well. My child, he's been watching Love Island with me this season. And he watched Love is Blind with me as well recently, and he is picking up on, I mean, obviously he's like, ew, gross, when they make out, and he'll go off on his tablet, and certain episodes I'm like, hey buddy, go hang out with dad and do something else. But in the certain those moments of conversation, it's given him he's emotionally understanding what they're going through, and he's even been like, she can't pick him, he's not ready for her.
He is so precious. I actually can't deal. But Shelby, I know you've had the little one. Mom strength is like next level because you have been sitting there with him for almost an hour and your arm must be dead. I do have one more question. If anyone
Sure.
is listening and they're like, I love Shelby's vibe, I want to support her, what is the best way to support you?
I would honestly just say, like, follow along. Like, if you, and right now I am attempting to make a bigger splash on TikTok. My following is under 10K. So I'm working on getting to 10K so I can offer more. They allow you to do so much more on TikTok when you do hit that big milestone. And I'm almost there, road to 10K. We're at like 7,000 something.
Yeah.
So once I get there, I'm excited to expand there. I do love the book talk community because they're so different, book talk and Bookstagram, and just kind of like following along, letting me know what you love or what you don't love, and just, yeah, just being there. My broadcast channel on my Instagram is where I kind of drop question boxes and prompts to help me figure out the pulse of my exact following and community. So yeah, that's truly the best way.
We'll also pop your Instagram profile into the episode description so anyone can follow along if they're vibing with you. Shelby, please go hang out with your eldest. Say thank you from me. Tell him I appreciate him giving up an hour with his mom. It means a lot to me. But it's been incredible actually talking to you. This is our first time talking face to face.
Oh, it's been delightful. You are absolutely, I'm so excited for our upcoming collab too. It's going to be awesome.
I'll chat to you about that offline, but have the best day and I can't wait.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye.